I was exhausted and starting to feel a little under the weather. I figured I'd get at least a few hours of sleep before driving over to the airport. Brian, on the other hand, was getting hungry for a late night snack, and he needed someone who could deliver. He browsed through the menu before finally placing an order.
Rest in between what you were, what you'll be. Time changes everything. But time can't change what you are to me. Oh. Time to feel sleepy, weeping.
Seeing the American landscape didn't appear to be one of Brian's top priorities anyway. I don't think he would have liked Wyoming at all.
Majestic peaks and ranges of the Rocky Mountains stud the western plateau. Except for an eastern fringe, this region is more than 2,000 feet above sea level, and large areas are above 5,000. This, our last frontier, is in fact the land of the wide open spaces.
I had been hanging around South Dakota for a couple days when I met George and his son Felix out at a place called Buffalo Ridge, which can't be found on any map. George and Felix were from the local Sioux tribe and were having a sweat lodge ceremony that afternoon. Older than recorded history, the sweat lodge ceremony is a sacred prayer ritual used for healing, purification, and spirituality. I was honored when they invited me to join them, and I figured I could really use it. We started by building the fire to heat the rocks used in the ceremony, these rocks representing Mother Earth. George said a special prayer and then left a tobacco offering in order to gain a connection to the earth. The fire represents the eternal light of the world, the source of all life and power. Once lit, it continued to burn for 2 hours until the rocks were glowing hot. Sage is the sacred plant used throughout the ceremony to purify and remove negative energies. When it came my turn, I made sure to get plenty of it. One by one, we entered into the sweat lodge, the darkened womb of Mother Earth. The heated rocks were then brought into the lodge and placed in the dugout pit in the center. Once we were all seated inside, the entrance was closed off and we were surrounded in total darkness. The ceremony lasted for about an hour and consisted of singing, chanting, praying, and the sacred pipe ritual. Despite the intense heat, I felt comfortable and at peace. Coming out of the sweat lodge is like being reborn. It's a time to relax and reflect. My cold was nearly gone and I felt great. I said goodbye to my new friends and thanked them for their hospitality. I hope to return to Buffalo Ridge someday to see them again. I continued east to New England, where I had family over in Massachusetts. My first stop was over to Holyoke to pay a surprise visit to my grandmother's house. I was starving after a long day on the road, but her cupboards were pretty bare, so I took her out for some new groceries. In being a good grandson, I helped her with some of the chores around the house. With winter coming up in 7 months, she pulled out a few things that she thought might fit me for the cold weather. Even though they weren't exactly my style, I didn't want to be rude, so I tried them on anyway.
Thread for all the places that were making uniforms and
Like a lot of people her age, my grandmother likes to tell stories about life in the old days. Growing up during the Great Depression, times were hard. Her family didn't waste anything, and they knew the value of a dollar.
sent me to nursing school to go and training for a nurse. The tuition was $100.